Okay, Shalom Aleichem. Our topic is a little bit off the beaten track today. It is on saying Yasher Koach and Baruch Tiyeh. We're going to be focusing on Yasher Koach and mentioning a little bit of Baruch Tiyeh. Just an interesting phenomenon. Every now and then there's a topic which, in and of itself, um, is less, I don't know, severe. I don't know exactly what the word to say, but it brings out a lot of other things. For instance, um, there's discussion about what are the 613 mitzvahs, and the the um, the discussion in and of itself, how much halachic nafkamin is, how many practical ramifications are there to which are the 613, um, but the issue of trying to figure out which of the 613 ended up bringing out so much important literature about the halachas that is all halacha l'maisa. Many things came out of that through the Sifrei HaMitzvahs that were written. And at the end of the day, the topic of knowing which of the 613 mitzvahs is understanding an agadata at the end of Makkah. So now this topic, when I first saw, I think I first saw it in the Piskei Tshuvos, in the anthology of Shilas and Tshuvos that appears, that is written by Rav Rabinovitz, um, very well organized, and they bring in all sorts of interesting topics. And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Is it okay to say Yasher Koach after the Kohanim do Birkas Kohanim?" Now, my gut reaction is, what could possibly be wrong with saying Yasher Koach? I mean, there's a limit to, uh, it's it's like, what could be wrong with saying Tehillim? Like so. Um, so I like to explore a certain tshuva, a certain responsum by Rav Noach Elbaum. Rav Noach Elbaum is, should live and be well, is a Rav in Queens, and I've listened to his shurim. He has very interesting material, and it turns out that he wrote about this topic. And then afterwards, I would like to explore another direction that I think is worth exploring. So without further ado, um, just I will not be exploring too much the language. Yasher Koach is your strength should be affirmed. There is it's from a Gemara word, uh, and the common custom is when the Kohanim do go up to do Birkas Kohanim, and many people uh, that do some kind of a mitzvah. So people say to them Yasher Koach, or if they're adapting it to the grammar, it's a number of people Yasher Koach Hachem, um, and the response of the Kohen is Baruch Tiyah, you should be blessed. Um, so um, the tshuva is the tshuva of Minchas Chen. Again, it's from Noach Elbaum. Um, and it was written to the author of a sefer, somebody named Rav Yaakov Yechiel HaKohen Troibe, who was the Rav of a shul in Borough Park. And in his sefer, Avnei Yaakov, so he wrote about this topic, and Rav Elbaum received the sefer, and he looked over the sefer. He says, "Haya einay v'libi mishotatos be'eziv mekomon shel shvachim." Again, he's using poetic Hebrew. That my eyes looked over some of the places of this praiseworthy book. Again, he's paraphrasing the parak of Eziv Mekomon. V'ra'isi bahem maros negahim. Now, this is a play on words. Maros Negaim is the the way the plague looks. It's an expression uh, from Saras, but he wrote it with a he wrote it with a hey, um, which is light. Anyways, I saw all sorts of topics, and he wrote a couple comments, and he wants to say, in order to show that I really looked into the Sefer, so I'm going to write you some comments that I thought about. So um, the the topic is like this. Um, he he asks why what is the big deal, so to speak, that the Kohanim are doing? They're just fulfilling their mitzvah. They're supposed to do it. So the understanding of the question seemed to have been like somebody is going beyond the call of duty. So then that's specially deserving of praise. Somebody who's just doing what he's supposed to do. So they're just doing what they're supposed to do. So the answerer, the author of the Sefer, so he suggested the following, that maybe Kohanim, because theoretically they couldn't be forced to do Birkas Kohanim. And he's going to explain why. So therefore, when they actually do it, there's something a little beyond the baseline activity. Why would you think that you would or wouldn't be able to force Birkas Kohanim? So, again, when things were when the halachic system was working as normal, so basically everybody in Am Yisrael is supposed to be doing all the mitzvahs. Somebody doesn't do a mitzvah, so again, you try to get him to do it. Let's say he's not doing it, so theoretically you could force him to do it. Now, this is very distant from our meaning, the modern, the people in the modern world, even very pious people in the modern world, like, this is a little foreign to us. So, but this is part of the system. Now, the Gemara says like this. This is the Gemara in Chulin. Kol devar chulus b'nei Yisrael. This is the pasuk that commands Birkas Kohanim. Rabbi Shmuel Amar, Lamanu bracha l'Yisrael mipnei Kohanim. You Kohanim should bless the children of Israel. So the children of Israel got a blessing from the Kohanim. Lo Kohanim atzmam lo lamanu. What about the Kohanim themselves? Where did they get a blessing from? Kish shehu omer v'ani avarchem. When the pasuk goes on and says, I will bless them. Now who's that them? Heve omer Kohanim mevarchim l'Yisrael. The Kohanim bless Israel. V'akodesh baruch hu mevarach l'Kohanim. And God blesses the Kohanim. So I will bless them. You bless the people of Israel, and I'll bless the Kohanim. That's what Rabbi Shmuel says. Rabbi Akiva omer lamanu bracha liyisrael mipi Kohanim. The Kohanim get a blessing from Israel. Israel gets a blessing, from the Kohanim. Mipi gvura lo lamanu. What about from Hashem? Kishu omer va'ani avarchem. Have omer Kohanim avarchem liyisrael. V'akodesh baruch hu maskim al yadam. So the Kohanim bless Israel. Who blesses? But what about Hashem blessing Israel? V'ani avarchem. I, says God, will bless Israel. Wait, so Ela Rabbi Akiva bracha leKohanim in Ela. Wait a second, aren't the Kohanim left out? The Kohanim bless Israel. Hashem blesses Israel. V'ani avarchem. But what about the Kohanim themselves? Amar Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak mi va'avarcha mevarchecha. I will bless, says God in another place, those who bless you. So there's a machlokas Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel. Now, the question is, where do we know that the Kohanim get blessed? So Rabbi Shmuel says it's from Va'ani avarchem. You bless Israel and I'll bless you. And Rabbi Akiva says it's from Ve'avarcham v'vorchecha. He learns from Vani Avarchem that I'll bless Israel. But where? How do we know the Kohanim get blessed? I'll bless those who bless you. So people ask, uh, what's the difference? What's the big difference? One learns it from one pasuk, one learns it from another pasuk. At the end of the day, Israel is blessed. God blesses Israel. Israel's blessed by the Kohanim. God blesses Israel, and the Kohanim are blessed. How do we know the Kohanim are blessed by God? Either from Vani Avarchem, that's Rabbi Shmuel, or, like Rabbi Akiva says, from Va'avarcham Avarchecha. So everybody seems to be agreeing, just getting it from a different pasuk. So he quotes in that sefer, the author quoted in that sefer, Hagon Rabbi Yitzchak Yerucham, the Tuve now there's a big difference. Why? The klal gadol b'yadeinu the kol mitzvah saseh shemata and schar batzina ein beitin shamata muzharin aleh. That when there's a mitzvah where the reward for the mitzvah is written in the Torah along with the mitzvah, excuse me, the courts, the Beit Din, isn't obligated to force it, to enforce it. Im kain, l'Rabbi Yishmael den afkalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevarach lekohanim. According to Rabbi Yishmael, the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu blesses the Kohanim mehad omer vani avarchem miyad lachar shu omer kol Baruch Hu b'nei Yisrael. The pasuk of I will bless them, I will bless the Kohanim. The Kohanim do their mitzvah of blessing Israel, so that's a mitzvah, positive mitzvah, and the reward is written right there in the parsha. You bless Israel, and I, says Hashem, will bless you. Nimtza dahavale birkas kohanim mitzvah saseh shematan zchar betzida she'ein beitin shamata musarin aleha ulididei ein kofinis ha kohanim she'ikaimu mitzvah saseh zo. Because the reward for the mitzvah of blessing the Kohanim is written right there in the Chumash along with the mitzvah to bless the Kohanim, so it's in the category of one of those mitzvahs where the schar is right there, and therefore a court wouldn't be able to force Kohanim to bless Israel. Aval Rabbi Akiva the nafkale the HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevarach lekohanim mehad omer va'avarcham avarchecha. According to Rabbi Akiva, the reward for this mitzvah, that's what he's viewing this, the blessing of the Kohanim, that the Kohanim get blessed. So that's in a whole different pasuk elsewhere. Va'avarcham avarchecha, I will bless those who bless you. That's found in a pasuk elsewhere. Im kain lo nemar matan tzchor shel mitzvahs birkos kohanim b'tzida. So the reward of the mitzvah isn't right there. Lachein ledidei kofines hakohanim she'ikaimu mitzvah saseh zo. According to Rabbi Akiva, you would be able to force the kohanim. So again, in this first Yasher Koach reason, the first reason to say Yasher Koach, he opens with understanding that there's a machlokas Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva, not just on what pasuk teaches us that the Kohanim get blessed, but it turns out that according to Rabbi Yishmael, because that pasuk is right along with the mitzvah, this is in the category of a positive mitzvah whose reward is written right along with it, and those kind of mitzvahs the court doesn't force, but mitzvahs, according to Rabbi Akiva, it's not, because the pasuk of Va'avarcham avarchecha, I will bless those who bless you, the, so to speak, schar, the reward for the mitzvah of Birkos Kohanim, of the Kohanim doing their mitzvah, the fact that the Kohanim get a bracha, that's written elsewhere. So according to Rabbi Akiva, you would be able to force the mitzvah. There was a Talmud Chacham you quoted who added his own comment to Mishum Hachi Aminagul Amar LaKohanim Achar Birchasam Yasher Koach La Rosh Ein Yecholim LaKofen Al Zeh. We say to them Yasher Koach because it's something we can't force, but they do it anyways. Even though we can't force it, they do it anyway. So they get a Yasher Koach for that. Again, the idea, the whole idea of his tshuva was that Yasher Koach is for doing something a little bit more than was necessary. Now, Rav Elbam himself says, נסעתי משום הלא עיריה, דאף לפי זה הקטי נוכל לומר, דכיוון דהנה בייסטין מחויבים להכריחו, ונמצא דבעצם הייתה שייך להשתמט במצווה, כן אמרינו עם ישר כוח. The Beis isn't obligated to force them. They could, but they're not obligated. So we're viewing this as a mitzvah that theoretically somebody could have gotten out of. But Rav Elbaum himself sees it a little different. He wants to suggest as follows, that the reason why Kohanim get a special Yasher Koach is because Kohanim, says the Gemara in Sota, must bless Israel with love. And in fact, that's part of the blessing. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'kedushaso shel Aaron, v'tzivanu levarach es am Yisrael be'ava. It's even included in the blessing. They're supposed to bless Israel with love, as it's clear in the Magen Avram, according to Zohar HaKadosh. Im kein hinei vadai de midas u'madregas ha'ava hu milsa detalya b'lev. There are different levels of love. Ve'enu shava b'chol kohen u'mekohen. Every kohen is different. Im kein achova l'kohen sheyir'eh lekabel l'beis habracha lehovas hatzibor. So every kohen, when they do Birkas Kohanim, and again in Eretz Yisrael they do it every day. In Chutz La'aretz they do it on the Yomim Tovim. In Ashkenazi shuls, in Sephardi shuls they do it every day, as far as I know. And there's some people from Eretz Yisrael, when they go to Chutz La'aretz, they try to daven in a Sephardi shul to get Birkas Kohanim, even though they themselves are Ashkenazim. So the Kohanim are supposed to be filling themselves with love for Am Yisrael as their blessing, the tzibur. There's different levels of love. So we tell the Kohanim Yasher Koach, so they should be as strong as possible to embed in their hearts an excessive amount of love for Am Yisrael. So the blessing will be more according to the greater love. So the more that the Kohanim love Israel when they give the bracha, the more the blessing is going to be. Chazal said, when you want to give the kos shel bracha of Birkas Hamazon. Now he quotes a Gemara in Sota that says, Reb Shimon Levi says that, so let's say you want to you have 30 people at a Suda, and now you want somebody to do the Zimun. So give the Zimun, give the person the Kos Shel Bracha, the person who's going to be benching over a Kos, the person who's going to be lead the Zimun. Ein nostin Kos Shel Bracha levarach ela letov ayin. You should give it to somebody who's generous, who's a generous kind of a person, and Tov Ayin is generous, but Tov Ayin is also somebody who has a positive perspective on others. Shenemar Tov Ayin hu yivorach. One who is Tov Ayin, now we're darshaning hu yivarech, he will bless. And the Marsha says, Ki birkas ha'mevorech tachul kefi kavanas ha'mevorech, that the blessing will take effect according to the intent of the blesser. So the more a person is has got positive energy, if you will, and positive will, and his heart is filled with positive things, so therefore the blessing is going to be even the more so. They get a special Yasher Koach, and that they try to give the blessing with as much love as possible. And to love each of Israel. So reason number one to say Yasher Koach is because the Kohanim theoretically, at least according to Rabbi Shmuel, could have weaseled out of, so to speak, Birkas Kohanim, because Birkas Kohanim is something you can't force them. The Beis Din isn't obligated to force them. theoretically could, but they're not obligated to work. So maybe this is like so they get a little Yasher Koach for that. According to Rav Elbam himself, it's because the blessing of the Kohanim has to be with love, and they get a Yasher Koach for intensifying their love for Israel, because the blessing will be even more so based on the love. There's another sefer that says as follows. I'll speak this up. There's a concept of tovas kana, which means somebody, let's say we find it with trumas and meisers. So a Yisrael is going to give truma when things are when the halacha is functioning normally. So an Israelite gives his truma to a Kohen and his meiser to a Levi. Now he gives it to a Kohen, he gives it to Levi. Which Levi, which Kohen? So he can choose. And an Israelite gives to a particular Kohen, so he has the ability to give to whoever he wants to. So even though an Israelite is obligated to give truma and he's obligated to give meiser, afal pikein tzrichim hakohen ve'alevi lachzik lo tova liYisrael shenatan lo. They have to have special appreciation to the Yisrael who gave them the truma and the meiser. Ki hayli Yisrael brevelit na le'achar. So they had the choice to give it to somebody else. A Kohen doesn't have to go to the shul. A Kohen could theoretically go to some other shul. And so the Israelim should show special appreciation to the Kohen who chose to go to their shul. So that's the concept of tovasana. The fact that the third reason why a Kohanim, when they bless Israel, get especially Yasher Koach is because they chose to come to that shul. It's like the concept of tovasana that a Kohen or a Levi has for Yisrael who gave him truma or meiser. They were obligated to give truma and meiser, but they didn't have to dafka give truma and meiser to this particular Kohen or this particular Levi, so they appreciate. Same thing, the Kohanim here are obligated to do Birkas Kohanim, but they don't have to do it here. They don't have to do it in this minyan. They could have gone down the block to another shul. I know there's going to be, let's say there's places where there's one shul. Okay. Theoretically, they could have stayed home. Okay. The fourth special reason that the Kohanim get this Yasher Koach for doing Birkas Kohanim is based on a whole mahalach, a whole approach, which is developed by the Beis Halevi, Rabbi Yosef Dov Halevi Soloveitchik Zatzal, that who was the one of the early members of the Soloveitchik. It's not a dynasty, but the Soloveitchik line. So he was Reb Chaim Soloveitchik's father, and the Rabbi Yosef Dov Soloveitchiks, the one of Boston and the ones in Yerushalayim. So they're named after that original Rabbi Yosef Dov Halevi Soloveitchik. So he has, and by the way, this is something I think we had a Chabura on this topic. So can one Kohen say Birkas Kohanim on behalf of all of them? In other words, let's say 10 Kohanim go up to Duchen. Can one say the blessing? He'll say the Yevorecha for everybody, and everybody, all the rest of the Kohanim, will just listen. What halachic mechanism would they use? A halachic mechanism we're familiar from many places called Shomea Ke'oneh. If you hear, it's like you made the pronouncement yourself. Well, we use it for Kiddush. One person makes Kiddush. There's 10 people around the table, and they all fulfill the mitzvah of Kiddush through listening. Kriyas Megillah. One person reads the Megillah, everybody else listens, and it's like everybody else said it. So, so Rav Soloveitchik, the Beis Halevi, says if you were able to do Shomea Ka'ona, use Shomea Ka'ona for Birkos Kohanim. I'm just going to close the window because there's some noise outside. Just a moment. So if you were able to do Birkos Kohanim through Shomea Ka'ona, one coin would do it and everybody else would listen. So we would understand a certain cryptic Mishnah. There's a Mishnah in Megillah that says, Hamaftir B'Navi, the person who does the maftir, Hu Pores al Shema, V'hu Nosei al Kapav. He's the one who leads the Shema, and he's the one who does Birkos Kohanim. Nosei al Kapav, lift up his hands. That's the expression in the Mishnah for Birkos Kohanim. Detzorchi and Perusha, Dehal Kol Kohen Nosei al Kapav. Wait a second, what does that mean? He's the one who does Birkos Kohanim. Don't all the Kohanim do Birkos Kohanim? And there are different explanations for this. He quotes, Ulefiza necha, according to this, it makes sense. Dehu yomar apsukim lahotzi shara kohanim. He would say the blessing, and all the other kohanim would fulfill their mitzvah through him. And there's a discussion on this in the Har Tzvi. There's a discussion of this on the Kilos Yaakov, the Stipler. So according to this, he says like this: maybe there's a special Yasher Koach that the kohanim get, because theoretically they could have fulfilled their mitzvah just by listening to one kohen. But instead, according to our minhag, every kohen says it. All the kohanim say it together. So they get a Yasher Koach for not doing it in a way that they were Yotze through Shomea Ka'ona, but rather they make sure that they're not Yotze through others' Birkos Kohanim, they do it themselves. You could discuss this a lot. One of the reasons given, one of the issues that comes up in this is that is exactly how the concept of Shomea Ke'ona works. Shomea Ke'ona could work as when I hear, it's like I said, or it could be, though, that when one person speaks and fulfills a mitzvah, that speech, whatever it is, works for the other person. Now, those two things sound more or less the same. The only thing is, and this is where one of the places where this comes up, the Kohanim have an obligation to do Birkas Kohanim b'kol ram. They have to do it in a loud enough voice. Some Kohanim are machmer on this, and they belt it out. So one of the suggestions given in this discussion is that perhaps Shomea Ke'ona only works that it's like you said it, but when there's a special requirement on the method of saying it. So who says Shomea Ke'ona would work? Who says Shomea Ke'ona would work for Kol Ram? If one kohen would do it but Kol Ram and everybody else would listen. So if you say Shomea Ke'ona works through the mitzvah that he did through speech, works for me, so then I would be Yotze. But if you say listening is like saying it, well, he said it b'kol ram, I just heard it. So how can I do kol ram if I'm only hearing as if saying? So that's one of the issues that comes up. It comes up also in trying to understand the minhag of saying all the 10 sons of Haman, where the whole congregation says the 10 sons of Haman. Why is that? We understand some of the psukim that are major transition psukim in the Megillah, or major highlights in the Megillah, like Yehudi Ma'aseh v'Simcha v'Sasa Mekar. So that everybody says together. But why dafka the hanging of the 10 sons of Haman? So everybody says it. So one suggestion is given is that you you're supposed to do that all in one breath. You're supposed to say in the Balkore, he says he says them really fast in order to get all of it, all 10 sons in one breath. So once again, it would be Shomea Keona could work to say the words, but not to say them with one breath. That's something you got to do by yourself. So that's a suggestion that Kohanim could have been possibly Yotze through Shomea Keona, and they chose to do it themselves. So that's why they get a special Yasher Koach. This appears in a sefer based on Rav Ovadia's sons. And so, is there an Inyan to say to the Kohen Yasher Koach? Because they're obligated anyways. So his answer is Kain. They theoretically could have gotten out of the obligation. They could have left the shul before Ritzei. And sure enough, every now and then you see that a Kohen who leaves before Ritzei, so he's not going to be obligated in Birkos Kohen, again, for some good reason. And then he says the second reason, which is very similar to what Rav Elbaum said, it adds love and the blessing is greater. Meaning we say Yasher Koach to him, and then he is going to there's a good dynamic between him and the community, and he's going to be expressing his love for them even more, and the blessing is going to be even more powerful. Now, I want to suggest that my knee-jerk reaction when I saw this topic is that we don't need to justify saying Yasher Koach to somebody who is doing what he's obligated to do. In other words, let's say somebody says Kriyat Shema. Is there anyone with saying Yasher Koach for somebody saying Kriyat Shema? What are you saying to me, Yasher Koach? I was obligated to say Kriyat Shema. So would we have to go, find one of the justifications for saying Yasher Koach to somebody who's anyways obligated? Again, there's just to review. We have, if I remember, five justifications. Number one, it's a mitzvah that you wouldn't be able to force somebody to do, and he did it anyways. So he theoretically could have got it. Number two, he's doing it b'ava, he's doing it with love, and that gives us a greater blessing, and we give him a Yasher Koach for the extra love that he puts into it. He could have gone to a different shul. And similar to the concept of Tovas Hana to a Yisrael that a Kohen or a Levi has for Yisrael, so we thank the Kohenim for coming to our shul. They could have been Yotze through Shomea Keona. One Kohen could have done it. And instead, they all do it themselves. So everybody gets a Yasher Koach for not just doing it in a way which would have fulfilled the mitzvah, but doing it, going beyond the call of duty. Also, they theoretically could have left the shul. They didn't have to stay in the shul. They decided to go. However, there's a maharik, a tshuva of the maharik. There was a custom in a certain place to have a fundraising drive for, I think, the candle lighting in the year's candle lighting in a shul. And they would give the person who bid the highest, they would give him the aliyah of Kohen, the first aliyah, and the Kohen would leave. And if the Kohen leaves, so then you don't have to give an aliyah to the Kohen. So there was a certain Kohen there who didn't want to leave, so they had a whole to do about whether that was okay, whether they could. So in the context of that whole, there's a long, like 2.5-page tshuva that the Marik has about this topic. And in the context of that, he says, we find in a number of places, machzikim yedei osei mitzvah b'chol oz umishtadlim hayu lahargilo b'chach. We try to strengthen people who do mitzvahs Chazal do it in all. They go all the way. They're very powerful about this, and we try to get people we try to encourage people to do mitzvahs. And that's proper. And we should follow Chazal's lead in this topic. So now there is the expression machazikim yedei osei mitzvah. I did not find it in the Gemara, but we do find ein machazikim yedei over avera. We don't strengthen people who are doing a mitzvah, doing an avera. So let's say somebody is in a prohibited way transgressing the shmita, and he's doing prohibited work doing shmita. We say, oh, shkoach, shkoach. We don't say yasher koach. We don't strengthen somebody. People are mechazik each other often, and so we don't do that when somebody's doing an avera. Ein machzikim yedei over avera. The contrast should be clear though, that yes, machazikim yedei osei mitzvah, we do. So I didn't find that expression in Chazal, but the Marik speaks it out, and he gives a number of cases where he shows that we do go over backwards to try to be mechazik people who are doing a mitzvah. Just to gather some of those that he says. The people who go to do testimony for Eidos HaChodesh, people who go to testify about the new moon. So there was a giant courtyard in Yerushalayim called Beit Yazek, and they would make these big meals for the people who came to testify about the new moon. And the goal was to make sure that people keep on coming. So they come the next year. So the next year when they see the moon, they'll also testify. They, oh yeah, we came to testify. Whoa, did they have a beautiful Suda for us? He says, maybe you're going to tell me, well, that's a mitzvah that is shayach for all of Israel. We want to make sure that all of Israel has the testimony of the new moon for the calendar of all of Israel. But what about an individual doing a mitzvah? So he says that's in the last parak of Bikurim when the Mishnah discusses the beautiful procession of people bringing Bikurim from all parts of the country, and they're going into Yerushalayim. So as they walk through Yerushalayim, even before they came to Yerushalayim, people went out to greet him. Officials went out to greet them, and then the craftsmen who were in Yerushalayim would stand up for the Mevi'e Bikurim, would stand up for the people who were bringing Bikurim, and they would inquire, they would say, Achenu anshe makom ploni boachim l'shalom, people of Netanya, the people of Tel Aviv, the people of Zichron Yaakov, come in peace. That's what the Mishnah says. And the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan says, they stand up for the people who are bringing Bikurim, and that's the concept of chaviva mitzvah b'shaita, that when somebody's in the process of doing mitzvah, we stand up for them. But and they don't even stand up for Talmidei Chachamim, meaning if they're in the middle of their work, so they wouldn't take a break to stand up for a Talmid Chacham, if somehow it would involve that. So, and the Gemara says, that case might be special. The goal was, we don't want them to not come the next time. And so you see that Chazal are into giving chizuk to somebody who's doing a mitzvah to make sure that they have incentive to do it again. And so we say Yasher Koach perhaps to the Kohanim, and this is maybe the simplest thing. Somebody does a mitzvah, we want to give them chizuk for doing the mitzvah. We want to give them encouragement and incentive to keep doing. Yeah, I did Birkos Kohanim, and the whole shul, they came out. Everybody's Yasher Koach, Yasher Koach, Yasher Koach. Everybody's shaking my hands. Uh, so that perhaps is maybe the simplest reason, uh, based on this concept of machzikim yedeos mitzvah, which um, the the Marik formulates it that way. The Gemara doesn't say it, but says the Marik. It's underlying so many concepts in the Gemara. So that's perhaps an uh, uh, an example of one of these topics, which, in and of itself, is a is a so to speak more of a minor topic, but it brought out so many issues about Birkas Kohanim, about mitzvahs. Can you do Birkas Kohanim through Shomei Kaona? Is it classified as a mitzvah that you can force, or maybe not? Um, uh, the the importance of blessing the Kohanim blessing the people be'ahava, being filled with love for Klal Yisrael as they're doing the blessing, and how that intensifies the mitzvah, the blessing, excuse me. So that so this is an example of a topic which brings out many other topics about Birkas Kohanim. That is what I wanted to share with you today. I didn't mention Baruch Tia. That's another topic that some of the people discuss when the what is considered Baltosif, what is considered adding uh, a prohibited adding to the blessing. Which if a Kohanim, if they were up to Duchen, they said Yivarecha Hashem Vishrecha Yair Shalom, and then they said Baruch Ata B'Avoecha Baruch Ata B'Tzeisecha. That would be Baltosif. That would be transgressing by adding a blessing. We wouldn't say yeah, what does it hurt? But after they come down and they say Baruch Tiyeh, so the custom is to do that. It's not in the context of doing Birkas Kohanim. It's after they did Birkas Kohanim. Or maybe it's referring to the blessing that they already gave, and therefore it's not an issue. But I didn't get into that topic.